take this down, it will help you. There have been over 25,000 archaeological digs related to the subject matter of the Bible, and not one of them have contradicted anything we have in the Bible. Not one of those archaeological digs. That is, overwhelming majority of them, those archaeological digs have confirmed and affirmed the things that we have in the Bible. They have confirmed, they have affirmed the things that we have in the Bible. And the overwhelming majority of them have confirmed it. What we have is over 301 eyewitnesses to the resurrection of Jesus who were still alive when First Corinthians was written. Why is that important? 301 over. Why is it important? This is important because that means that the message of the Bible is falsifiable. Is falsifiable. When you are testing the veracity of a claim, if somebody is making a claim and the claim cannot be falsified, that means you cannot test the claim. It means you cannot test the claim. It means I can only take you by your word. It means I can only take you by your word. But this claim was falsifiable.
I want you to like this video.
When Brother Paul wrote it, it was falsifiable claim, and yet it was never falsified. It was never falsified. That is the test. That is the test. That is the proof for what is authentic. It was falsifiable, and yet it was never falsified when Paul was writing First Corinthians. That's a piece of evidence that has to be weighed. Again, a reliable collection of historical documents written by eyewitnesses during the lifetime of other eyewitnesses. Are we in the house? Now the problem here is, some say it was written later. They even said there was a Constantine guy. You know that day I did the interview in the office. The guy said to me, but Dr. Damina, you were there. The Bible has been tampered with over the years. How are we even sure that what we have is the original?
Share your comments down there.
It has been tampered with. Now, the moment a critic casts a doubt to the fact that the book you're holding called the Bible has been tampered with, and you cannot refute that, then you have no authority of quoting any verse there to defend your position. The moment they bring that argument to you that the Bible was falsified, and they now give you some historical stories that you are not even aware of, you will just say, eh. Once you start saying, eh, your entire faith starts dancing characteristics of living things. The moment you start saying, eh. So let's deal with that issue very carefully, because a lot of people are going to come to you with such issue. That there was a guy called Constantine who tampered with the collection of the original manuscripts of the Bible. So we need to deal with some things. Number one, I am establishing that the Bible was written early, and I am claiming that the New Testament was written early. The New Testament was done by the end of the 1st century. The New Testament was done with by the end of the 1st century. So by the early 2nd century or the beginning, we already had the New Testament completed. Some will argue on a couple of different fronts, and I will give you the argument, then I will deal with the argument. They will argue on the basis of some fronts. Number one, that the Bible is not reliable because it has about 4,500 translations. How can you trust a book that has been translated into 4,500 times different translations? How can you trust it? How can you trust that in the course of the translation, the translators did not tamper with some information? That's the first argument they will bring to you. The people who make this claim are either ignorant or they are evil. They are either ignorant or they are evil, or both. Because the Bible has been translated different times. And when some of these people who claim to be intelligent, who come up with these arguments, I wonder why Christians don't laugh at them. Because they should be laughed at. Okay? If you look at literature, let's talk about Aristotle's Poetics. We have less than a dozen manuscripts. Less than a dozen manuscripts of his Poetics. The earliest of Aristotle's Poetics is over 1,000 years after the writing. That's the earliest of his Poetics. What about Julius Caesar's? Julius Caesar's Gallic Wars, again, less than a dozen are available, and it's over 1,000 years. The best example on documentation is Humus Eliot's. We have a few hundred manuscripts. Actually, by the earliest we can put our hands on, is written 2,100 years after the original. And yet people have the audacity to question the New Testament. If the Bible is not considered reliable and trustworthy by any intellectual, then there is no other ancient material that should be considered reliable by any intellectual. No other ancient material should be considered reliable, because none of those materials come close to the Bible. Now, so let's deal with the overzealous monks that worked with Constantine, because the claim is that there were some overzealous monks that worked with Constantine to tamper with the Bible. Where did they get that from? They got it from the Da Vinci Code. If you have heard of the Da Vinci Code. But that's not actual history. That's a movie. Huh? That's not actual history. That's a movie. There's a few problems if we're even to consider the Da Vinci Code. Number one, there's a manuscript problem. Please take this. This will help you. There's a manuscript problem. Number two, there's 6,000 manuscripts or portions of manuscripts. 6,000 manuscripts or portions of manuscripts. So if there was such a thing like Constantine and his monks that were overzealous and tampered with the Bible, it means that the monks will go and change the New Testament, and they will have to find over 6,000 ancient manuscripts or portions of it and change it. They will have to look for the over 6,000 manuscripts and change it. Then all the same way that they change the over 6,000 manuscripts, they must make sure they don't get caught, and they must make sure they don't tell anybody what they did. Then there's a second layer to the problem of these monks. Jesus said, "Go ye into all the world and make disciples of every ethnic group." Pantanta ethni. The problem is they speak different languages. So in the first centuries, the Bible is translated into Syria, Coptic, and Latin. So which means that the overzealous monks during the time of Constantine will have to go and look for over 6,000 manuscripts, change them all the same way, don't be caught, Don't tell anybody what you did. Then they will have to lie in Syria because it was already translated. They will have to lie in Coptic and in Latin, as well as they will have to lie in Greek. So all these manuscripts have to match in the translations into all these languages. And again, don't get caught and don't tell anybody. The third issue that they have to deal with in the Da Vinci Code is the early church fathers. They had a horrible habit of quoting and writing commentaries of the Old Testament. The early church fathers, they were always quoting from the Bible, then they will write commentaries. They will quote from the Bible, then they will write commentaries. So much, so if we have all their commentaries, from their commentaries we'll be able to reproduce the New Testament. You didn't get that? From their commentaries we'll be able to reproduce the New Testament, because they made commentaries on each verse of scripture. The early fathers, there were so many writings in the early church. So if those monks really tampered with the Bible, apart from the over 6,000 manuscripts in different languages that they will have to tamper with, they will have even had to also get all the writings and commentaries of the early church fathers and tamper with the evidence. That's a fantasy. That's a fantasy. Are we teaching here? So we have a reliable collection of historical documents written by eyewitnesses during the lifetime of other eyewitnesses.